Climate change alone is expected to cost our economy $5 billion a year by 2020. And I see, are you about to stop me there? Go ahead. I'll stop if you need to stop me.
Honourable member will have 5 minutes after the question period to continue her speech. Statements by members. The honourable member for Nunavut.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Education and healthcare are two important priorities in my riding of Nunavut. With respect to education, Nunavut has the lowest graduation rate in the country, an unfortunate reality that has been influenced by many factors, including the deep ingrained mistrust for the system due to the residential school legacy. Regarding healthcare, Nunavut need access to quality healthcare. They want to receive treatment in Nunavut from people who are sensitive and understanding to their culture. I'm happy to say, Madam Speaker, that youth in Nunavut are doing their part to address these priorities. Tomorrow I'll be traveling to my riding to congratulate those who have recently graduated from the education and nursing programs at Nunavut's Arctic College. These programs have provided students with a culturally relevant education, one that will help shape education and healthcare policies for generations to come. I am truly honored to be asked to speak at this ceremony, and I'm very proud of these graduates and their accomplishments. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable député de Marc-Aurèle-Fortin.
Honourable member for Marc-Aurèle-Fortin. Mr. Speaker, I recently had the opportunity to meet with Ms. Chantal Baillargeon and Ms. Mélanie Paiement, who work for the Quebec Stuttering Association for the Young. This association is a nonprofit community organization that has been working in the field of health for over 25 years. Its members, made up of parents, professionals, and researchers, have made it their mission to offer young people who stutter the hope, the knowledge, and the confidence to fully achieve their potential. On June 14th, there will be a cocktail dinner to celebrate the opening of the first Francophone community clinic that specializes in stuttering. I would like to congratulate the association for its contribution to creating a world where stuttering is not a barrier to developing everyone's full potential. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Député de Lévis-Lobinière.
Monsieur le Président, à l'aube des festivités qui ont...
The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lobinière. At the dawn of the festivities that are going to be held throughout the summer in Lévis-Lobinière, I would like to share with you what makes me so proud of my region. First of all, I live with people who are warm and dynamic, and there's also strong solidarity in my region. Everyone helps the least fortunate. That has led me to conclude that having a good place to live goes beyond physical infrastructure. It's the quality of people's values that makes all the difference. I would like to congratulate all those who got involved throughout the summer season in the many festivals of my region, whether they focus on sports, culture, or local color. I am looking forward to meeting the constituents during many summer activities surrounding Canada Day, during my participation in the play Comme dans le temps, and during the dinner I'm organizing as an MP on August 10th. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you all.
Fraser Canyon.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize Jacob Perlott of Sohela's First Nation in my riding. Jacob was selected 58th overall for the 2018 CFL draft. Excellent. One of few BC Indigenous men ever drafted for the league. Jacob started playing football with his older brother and played community tackle football before joining middle class and high school teams. He went on to play the Queen's University while studying philosophy. Jacob has a goal to be a great role model for other children in his community. He wants them to know that they too can be successful and encourages all Indigenous youth to pursue their goals. Jacob, Mission Maskey Fraser Canyon is cheering for you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Hamilton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, in 2004, a group of local artists and gallery owners began a monthly event to highlight the developing art scene along James Street North in my riding of Hamilton Centre. Art Crawl, as it's known, quickly grew, and in 2009, Super Crawl was born. This annual festival features an exciting lineup of art, music, fashion, and performances featuring local talent, as well as artists from across Canada and from around the world. Drawing more than 200,000 attendees over the course of 3 days. I would like to congratulate Tim Podosic, Dane Pedersen, Mark Furukawa, Mike Renault, David Couric, Graham Crawford, Kieran Dixon, Gary Buttram, and all those who have been involved with Supercrawl. A true celebration of art, music, and culture. It is also a celebration of our strong, diverse, and vibrant community. Supercrawl will celebrate its 10th anniversary this September 14 to 16, and a great time will be had by all. Bravo.
The honourable member for Don Valley West.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in the House today to mark the 70th anniversary of Toronto's Sunnybrook Health Sciences Centre. Founded in Don Valley West in 1948 as a hospital for veterans, Sunnybrook has a proud history and a distinguished legacy of caring for Canada's war heroes. Affiliated with the University of Toronto, it continues to stand as a symbol of our nation's gratitude to our armed forces. Over the past 70 years, Sunnybrook has grown into one of Canada's largest and most dynamic healthcare facilities and has become a leader in patient care, education, and research. Sunnybrook Veterans Centre, working in close partnership with Veterans Affairs Canada, remains the largest veterans care facility in the country. Today, it is home to some 475 veterans from World War II, the Korean War, and modern conflicts who receive state-of-the-art specialized care. We look forward to Sunnybrook's next 70 years and the lasting impact the hospital will continue to have on Canadian veterans, their families, as well as the wider community.
Wonderful. Député de Portneuf, Jacques Cartier.
The honourable member for Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Every June, our youth takes an important step at the end of the school year. Students in elementary school will celebrate their success. Young adults will be graduating from high schools, such as the High School of Dollard des Ormeaux, Donnacona, Saint-Marc-des-Carrières, École Louis-Jourdain, Mont-Saint-Sacrement, École des Pionniers, and Séminaire Saint-François. They will be leaving this world to start their adult lives. I invite these young people to be proud of themselves. They have all built their toolbox to offer themselves a better future and build a better society. As I care deeply about children, you will see that I have taken on the challenge of shaving my head, which is a fundraising activity for Lucan. I did it to help our youth. I would like to thank my family, my staff, my friends, and many colleagues in the House of Commons. I received contributions from MPs for the NDP, Quebec Debout, the Liberal Party, and of course the Conservative Party. Beyond our political convictions, we are capable of working together for our youth. Thank you so much to all those who supported me.
Excellent. The honourable member for Tobique-Mactaquac.
I rise to congratulate Nakwik Elementary School students on achieving recognition for officially becoming an Earth School and logging 1,000 projects which pertain to the environment. Their commitment to do so both at school and at home through nature-based experiences in their outdoor garden and classroom, recycling, social awareness, problem-solving, community, and many well-being practices is admirable. This is an achievement that's been years in the making. This week, NES joins hundreds of other schools across Canada and are setting a great example for others. They are now students that younger students coming behind them can look up to and continue their good work. Perhaps even the older students will look up to these younger leaders and stewards of the environment. I'm very proud of the students of Nakwik Elementary, their efforts and dedication to practicing responsible environmental behaviors and being more connected and adventurous in nature along with their classmates. Congratulations, NES students, and the enthusiastic mentors and teachers who have guided you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Labrador.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, history was made in my riding as the nickel producer Vale announced the first underground mine for Labrador. The company started the open pit mine 16 years ago, and they have 2 successful impact benefit agreements with the Innu Nation and the Nunavut government. They employ over 60% Indigenous people, and through the IBAs, a tremendous amount of procurement is done with Newfoundland and Labrador-based businesses. Mr. Speaker, construction will begin this summer and will peak at 4,800 jobs by 2020. The company is investing over $2 billion in the underground mine, and direct employment, including the Long Harbour processing facility in Newfoundland, will see 1,700 new jobs created in Newfoundland and Labrador. It's an historic day for us, and the success is linked to the IBAs with Indigenous groups and the strong working relationship between the company and Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. This is reconciliation and resource development going hand in hand with environment and conservation. This
Honourable Member for Lethbridge.
June 12th is World Day Against Child Labour. The term child labour is sometimes difficult for us to understand because in a country like Canada, we are extremely blessed. But more than 168 million children worldwide do not enjoy the same protection that our children do. I'm talking about child slavery. I'm talking about children who are sold into debt bondage, children who are required to traffic drugs, children who are forced into armed conflict, and children who are prostituted. In North Korea, elementary children are forced to work the farm, and they're beaten and starved if they refuse. In Iraq and Syria, children are captured by ISIS and forced to work in sweatshops. When the girls get a little older, they're sold into sex slavery. Across the Congo, young children are forced to dig through mud in order to mine for diamonds and other precious minerals. These are just a few examples of this abhorrent practice across the globe. Today, I join with those who are working on the front lines to end child slavery, and I call upon the Canadian government to stand up, speak out, and do a whole lot more.
The Honourable Member for Parkdale High Park.
Mr. Speaker, Tasha Delik. 2018 is being celebrated worldwide by Tibetans as the Year of Gratitude. Dr. Lobsang Sangye, Sikyong of the Central Tibetan Administration, along with the Tibetan community members from across the country, are here with us today to say thank you, Canada, to thank the government for making Tibetans the first non-European group of government-assisted refugees to be welcomed to Canada in 1971, to thank Canada for our continued support of the Tibetan people and for bestowing honorary Canadian citizenship on His Holiness the Dalai Lama in 2006. Today, I wear with pride in this chamber the kata, or scarf, given to me by His Holiness. But, Mr. Speaker, as the MP for Parkdale High Park, the home to the largest Tibetan diaspora in North America, I actually say that the thanks is all ours. To Tibetan Canadians, I say a heartfelt Tuji Che. Thank you for teaching us about the middle way, for strengthening our understanding of Tibetan Buddhism, and most of all for contributing so much to the multicultural fabric of our diverse country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Fundy Royal.
Mr. Speaker, in my role as Parliamentary Secretary for Small Business and Tourism, I've been fortunate to meet Canadian entrepreneurs from coast to coast to coast. These entrepreneurs start with just an idea that they know can be innovative, one that can solve a problem, one that can tap into new markets, or one that can help breathe new life into a community. Over the last 2 days, I've been lucky to spend time with 25 youth from across Canada who have the drive and the passion to be entrepreneurs. L'avenir est à toi.
Youth Can Do It, which is ending today, and brought 25 young, successful entrepreneurs here to Ottawa to learn from one another and Canadian business leaders. Their ideas, skill, dedication, and enthusiasm are inspiring.
Now, honourable members in this House will join me in recognizing the outstanding Youth Can Do It young entrepreneurs, including the participants that are here with us today on the Hill. Thank
you. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable. What's the definition of democracy for the Prime Minister of Canada? For a Liberal, democracy is a system to get Liberals elected, take power, use that power to change rules, to keep staying in power, and limit the ability of those who want power to retake it. And if they can't change the rules, what do? Or if the proposed changes aren't to the advantage of those in power, they start over and over until their power allows them to reduce to silence all those who don't think that power should always belong to them. Once again, Liberals are trying to apply their own definition of democracy by proposing new changes to our rules, and once again, they used their power by passing time allocation motions to prevent parliamentarians from having their say. Voters don't need a piece of idea. They've limited the capacity of other parties to invest in their campaign because Canadians don't want to fund the Prime Minister. They're going to allow foreigners to interfere in our elections. We are against Liberal-style democracy. Conservatives are always going to stand up for fair rules for all Canadians. The Honourable Member for Pierrefonds-Dollard. Mr. Speaker, June is a very important month in the history of the Philippines. Today, June 12th, marks the Independence Day of the Philippines from Spain. I encourage all Canadians to get involved in events organized in their communities throughout Canada during the month of June.
We're lucky to have two great Canadian Filipino associations, FCOWI and Swiss. I applaud FCOWI, their president, Adder Bolson, and the Executive Committee for the wonderful activities that they put on in our community, including basketball, dancing, and more. I also applaud Roger Ayero and the officers and advisors of the Swiss organization for their social engagement with the seniors in our community. And I thank both of these societies, Mr. President, Mr. President, because they make their activities inclusive and they welcome everyone. I wish the entire Canadian-Filipino associations and communities of Canada a happy National Independence Day.
The Honourable Member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Mr. Speaker, on June 2nd, I had the opportunity to participate in a citizens' forum organized by the Masquinongé Regional County Municipality. The forum and the project, On Track for Carbon Neutrality, are intended to involve different stakeholders in the region to reflect on climate change and get involved in a collective sustainable development movement. 4 committees were set up to act to reduce greenhouse gases. Citizens, municipalities, and other stakeholders got involved. They are all working together to protect our environment, whether it be reducing plastics in our waterways, reducing food waste, or cutting down on greenhouse gas emissions, and I could go on. I'm proud to work with RCMs and municipalities in my riding to reduce the environmental footprint on our region. I would like to thank the entire team for CDIC and the Masquinongé RCM for setting up this amazing project. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For Calgary Nose Hill.
Next week, between 10,000 and 15,000 dogs, as well as cats, will be violently clubbed to death and eaten at the Yulin Dog Meat Festival. The conditions under which the animals are kept, crammed in tiny cages and terrified, and then inhumanely killed, is nothing short of tragic. Many of us have a visceral negative reaction to this, as we should. Animal rights activists do as well. Around the world, civil society groups have condemned this so-called festival. I think the world is ready to have a broader conversation about animal welfare and the standards that we have. This is a multifaceted issue with potential impacts on agricultural practices, traditional dietary practices, medical research, and more. This makes this topic a very difficult conversation to have, but Yulin and our reaction to it brings to light the worthiness of this discussion in terms of our collective attention, bringing our collective attention to it and taking action. How we treat animals often reflects our broader capacity for compassion, and what is about to happen in Yulin is wrong.
The Honourable Member for Aurora Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our 2 official languages bring us together as Canadians and have shaped our identity as a nation. Le 24 juin, nous célébrons...
On June 24th, we celebrate Saint Jean-Baptiste Day in communities across our country and recognize the significant contributions French Canadians have made throughout our history. I am proud of the work being done by the Francophone Association in York Region to ensure that the 16,000 Francophones across that region have access to quality French language services, and that the Francophone community continues to thrive. I encourage everyone in New York Region to join me in the Association for St. John Baptiste Day celebrations at Willow Grove Foam on Saturday, June 23rd at 4 p.m.
Celebrate the vibrant fabric of our nation while remembering that at our foundation, both French and English cultures are an essential part of our history. Bon Saint Jean-Baptiste à tous!
Happy Saint Jean-Baptiste Day to everyone.
Oral questions orales. The Honourable Member for Milton.
Mr. Speaker, there are reports that the Mr. Speaker, there are reports that President Trump withdrew the 5-year sunset clause negotiating tool within NAFTA negotiations. Can the Prime Minister indicate whether this is true?
Right, Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the member opposite for the question. Allow me to first begin by thanking the members of the opposition, indeed all Canadians, for demonstrating that when the moment is right, we all stand together firmly to support Canadians across party lines, across the country, across all provinces. It is a very clear message and a testament to who we are as Canadians. On this specific issue, I can say that we are continuing to discuss modernizing and improving NAFTA. We've continued to make it clear that a final sunset clause is unacceptable, that we cannot sign a trade deal that automatically expires every 5 years, but we continue to look for ways to move forward, to modernize, improve NAFTA for people on both sides of the border.
Honourable member for Milton.
So, Mr. Speaker, we understand Canada's position that it's very difficult to sign a trade deal that's sunset after 5 years, but the crux of the question is this. Did the President of the United States remove this demand from the negotiating table? Yes or no?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I had a meeting with the President on Friday afternoon in which we had a very constructive conversation on a broad range of issues. We've continued to impress upon how important it is to modernize and improve NAFTA, and we will continue to engage on a broad range of issues where Canada is standing firm, where the United States is looking for concessions. We're going to continue to work and demonstrate that, no, we will not accept a sunset clause in NAFTA.
Honourable member for Milton.
I'm going to take that as a yes. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, without the Prime Minister indicating to the Canadian people whether or not this was removed from the table, we have to understand that the answer is yes. A protracted trade war with respect to this issue has a significant impact on Canadian families. A company in Milton, Ontario. I can't hear him.
Order. The honourable member from Milton has the floor. Order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A protracted trade war will have a significant impact on Canadian families. A company in my riding alone, Whirlpool, has indicated that it's going to increase the costs, not only in terms of household appliances, but also to their own bottom line, putting in jeopardy jobs in my community. Mr. Speaker, you know, there is an easy way for the government in order to deal with this, and that is recognizing affordability is so important and shelving their carbon tax and making sure that payroll taxes are reduced. Will they do that?
Right, Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, allow me to be crystal clear on the previous question. As far as we know, the U.S. has not removed its demand for some sort of sunset clause. On the issue of tariffs, our issue that we have said multiple times to the United States is that they move forward with punitive tariffs on trade in aluminum and steel. Not only are they putting a threat on Canadian workers and Canadian industry, but they're actually going to hurt American workers as well, American consumers as well. This is not in the interests of two countries that have the closest and best trading relationship and alliance in the history of the world. We're going to continue to stand for that.
The honourable member for Toronto-Tabasco. Mr. Speaker, the Liberal government increased Canada's debt by $71 billion when the economy was doing well. Secondly, the president of the Royal Bank of Canada says that he's concerned because since the Liberals were elected, there's been a massive outflow of Canadian capital to other countries. And third, we've seen foreign investments drop by over a third since this Prime Minister was elected. And I haven't even talked about the impact that the carbon tax could have. In the face of all of this data, how can the Prime Minister say that he is supporting our economy? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, in the last election, Canadians had a choice between a Conservative government that was proposing austerity and cuts and a Liberal government that proposed investing in Canadians and giving more money to the middle class, while taxing the wealthiest a little more. Canadians made the right choice. We are creating economic growth. In 2017, our growth was the highest among G7 countries, and we will continue to make hundreds of thousands of jobs across the country. We are building a strong economy that works for all. The Honourable Member for Richmond, Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, here are the real facts. A deficit of $71 billion that our children and grandchildren will have to pay for. A carbon tax that will increase the cost of living for Canadians. A massive loss of investments, which hurts our economy. And today, since this Liberal government was elected, 81% of Canadian families, according to the Fraser Institute, pay more taxes than under the former government. So how can the Prime Minister accept this, and what will he do to support workers? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives and the Fraser Institute don't want to talk about the Canada Child Benefit. And I think that this is an important thing to talk about. What we did is we gave more money to 9 out of 10 families all across the country. We did that by not sending checks to the wealthiest families, and we were able to lift hundreds of thousands of children out of poverty. That is the approach that we took with the Canada Child Benefit. It's an approach that the Conservatives didn't want and that they voted against, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Rimouski-Neigette, Témiscouata-les-Basques.
Mr. Speaker, the Upper Nicola Indian Band will be building the largest solar project in British Columbia. Yet, with Kinder Morgan crossing the backyards, they'll soon have a clash of two visions on their land. On the one hand, a symbol of the future chosen by its members, and on the other hand, a pipeline imposed by the federal government. Global climate leaders don't spend billions on publicly funded pipelines. Will the government admit that this is a failure of leadership on their part?
Hear, hear.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Federal Court of Appeal was clear when they said that the Harper government had insufficiently consulted with Indigenous peoples on energy projects. Our government has completed the deepest consultations with rights holders ever on a major project in this country, and we established a co-developing monitoring committee with Indigenous communities. 43 Indigenous communities have signed benefit agreements. We have listened, and we will continue to listen. For the first time in Canadian history, many Indigenous peoples have been involved and will benefit as we share prosperity in our energy sector.
The Honourable Member for Rimouski-Neigette, Témiscouata-les-Basques.
But on this, the purchase of the pipeline, he is on the wrong side of history, Mr. Speaker. C'est pas les projets.
There's no lack of energy transition projects, but workers need to be at the heart of this transition, which will create thousands of high-quality, long-term jobs, the jobs of the future. But spending billions of dollars to buy a 65-year-old leaky pipeline without the consent of Indigenous communities, well, that's not a vision of the future, Mr. Speaker. So how can the Prime Minister think that he will help Canada keep its climate change commitments when buying a pipeline? Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the NDP supported Rachel Notley's environment plan, but forgot what was actually in that plan. A cap on oil sands development, a price on pollution, and a pipeline to get oil to markets other than the U.S. That's real leadership on climate change. We are imposing a price on pollution, we are phasing out carbon, and we are investing in clean technology. That is what progressives like Rachel Notley understand, and it's unfortunate to see the NDP opposed to that. The Honourable Member for Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie. Mr. Speaker, saying that the environment and the economy go hand in hand while buying a pipeline is a bit like saying that exercise and good eating go together while stuffing your face with donuts and cake. Why are the Liberals refusing to invest in a fair energy transition? Workers are ready, and companies are ready. We need to create workers for the jobs of tomorrow. How can the Liberals justify blowing $4.5 billion of our money on an old pipeline rather than investing in clean energy? Prime Minister. The federal NDP, like the Conservatives, still think that you need to choose between the economy and the environment. But that's no longer the case, and progressive leaders like Rachel Notley have understood that. That's why, in addition to a limit on oil sands development and a price on pollution, her plan included having a pipeline to get oil to markets other than the U.S., something that Canadians can certainly understand is needed today. And that's, of course, in addition to investing in renewable energy and a greener economy. We also invested $8 billion in that because we know it's important for Canadians.
Vancouver East.
The Prime Minister just doesn't get it, does he? Climate leaders do not spend billions of dollars to build new pipelines. And they certainly don't put Canadian pensions on the line to do it. We're now hearing that the Canada Pension Plan may invest in the Liberals' reckless pipeline. The CPP has never been used to backstop political projects. As one senior reporter puts it, it's bad, 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 bad. Instead of investing into a clean energy economy, why are the Liberals putting Canadians' money and their pensions at risk?
Right, Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, a little reminder that the NDP applauded Premier Rachel Notley's environmental plan when she got elected, but it seems they forgot what that plan contained. Let me remind them. It contained a cap on oil sands emissions. It contained a price on pollution, and it also contained a pipeline to get resources to markets other than the United States, something we can all agree on is probably a good idea this week. That's what real leadership on climate change looks like. As for the CPPIB, the Canada Pension Plan Investment Board operates at arm's length with a mandate to invest in the best interest of its members, and that's something we respect.
Honourable member for Carleton.
Donald Trump has been clear that he wants to take our money and our jobs, and this government's taxes and red tape are helping him do it. Build a factory in Canada, you'll have to pay a carbon tax and higher payroll taxes that you won't have to pay south of the border. Try to build a pipeline in Canada, and you'll be blocked, just like they were with the Northern Gateway and Energy East. Other problems that don't exist south of the border. We know why Donald Trump wants to take our jobs away. Why is this government helping him do it?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Let me be clear, Mr. Speaker, that when it comes to jobs, we absolutely stand with Canadians. What we found when we came into office was the previous government left us with a situation where we had 7.1% unemployment. Where are we now? About 600,000 new jobs in the last 2.5 years. Where are we now? Our unemployment rate among the lowest rates we've seen in 40 years, 5.8%. So, Mr. Speaker, we will not listen to the Harper Conservatives when they talk about jobs. We will listen to Canadians, and what we're hearing is they have good jobs. They have more optimism because they see a better economy and a better future.
Honourable member for Carleton.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the reality is that this year, Canada has actually lost jobs. And since this government took office, Canadian investment in the United States is up 2/3. American investment in Canada is down by half. When money leaves, jobs leave. This government's tax increases are driving both out of Canada. Will the finance minister agree at least to suspend his new carbon tax until we get through this crisis?
The Honourable Minister of Environment.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to start by recognizing Paul Dewar. We have all heard the very sad news about Paul Dewar, and we're thinking about him and his family. While we may sit on different sides of the aisle, we are all colleagues here together. I would encourage everyone here to come together to support his new initiative, Youth Action Now. Speaking of youth, youth care about the environment. They also care about jobs. That's exactly what we're doing. We're going to continue tackling climate change. We're going to continue protecting our environment, and we're going to continue creating jobs.
Member for Carleton.
Well, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the entire Conservative caucus and my constituents in Paul Dewar's hometown, we offer him all of our prayers and all of our love in this area. Mr. Speaker, the reality is that the tax burden under this government has risen. For 80% of middle-class taxpayers, they are paying more than they were when this Prime Minister took office. Given that, will they indicate how much will this new carbon tax cost the average Canadian family?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Speaker, we need to call out the opposite member from Carleton on incorrect facts. He's not doing the analysis that he should do in order to look at what's really going on. The report that he's referring to has two fundamental problems. Number one, it doesn't look at the Canada Child Benefit, helping 9 out of 10 families. Number two, what it does is it looks at the payments that people make into the Canada Pension Plan and calls it a tax. So, Mr. Speaker, what we can say is we lowered taxes on middle-class Canadians. It's very clear from our standpoint, what we've done is we've helped our economy by putting more money in people's pockets. 9 out of 10 families are better off, and that's helped our economy.
The Honourable Member for Carleton.
Well, actually, the Finance Minister has made two factual errors. Number one, with regards to the benefits he claims he's providing, The promise of the Liberals was not that they were going to raise taxes on middle-class families and give a little bit of it back through government spending. They promised the taxes would go down for the middle class. In fact, they've gone up. Secondly, the report to which I referred has nothing to do with CPP payroll taxes. It said that middle-class Canadians, 80% of them are paying more income tax since this government took office. How much more will these same families pay under the new proposed carbon tax?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I think maybe where we can go with this is we can think about what's happening on a riding-by-riding basis. So, for example, for the member in Carleton, what's happened is there's about $48 million in Canada Child benefits going to that riding. What does that mean? That means 18,000 children are better off. More than 10,000 families get on average more than $4,000 after tax. Perhaps you should go to talk to people in this riding to understand how they're doing. They're doing better, Mr. Speaker, because we've helped Canadian families to raise their families for tomorrow.
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's so nice to hear the Liberals talking about the money that they're giving to children, but the money that we don't have or that they're borrowing is what children will have to pay for later. That's the reality under the Liberals. They've been in power for 2.5 years, and we can say that trade relations between Canada and the U.S. really are more in favor of the U.S. than Canada. For 2.5 years, 50% of American investments in Canada decreased. 66% of Canadian investments in the U.S. increased. So how can the Liberal government be proud? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives have chosen certain specific numbers, but the numbers that count are numbers for Canadians. Every Canadian family is in a better situation. We know that our rate of growth is the highest in the G7, and it's important to remember that last year, business investment in Canada increased by 8%. Those are the true numbers. We are better off because of our policies and because of the world economy. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. Well, the real number is that these people were elected saying that they would run a very tiny deficit, and today that deficit is 3 times bigger. They said there would be no deficit by 2019, but now they have no idea when they're going to balance the budget. Those are the facts. Those are the numbers. Worse, Mr. Speaker, today Canadians pay 80%, or rather 80% of Canadians pay more taxes than under our government. How can the Liberal government claim to be succeeding when they're clearly failing? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, that is really not the situation. The numbers are clear. With the Canada Child benefit, 9 out of 10 Canadian families are better off. Furthermore, we cut taxes for the middle class. That's the truth. And because of our policies, we are better off economically. That means that our economic growth is better today than before, and that is good for families today and tomorrow.
In Strathcona.
In signing the Paris Climate Agreement, this government committed to establish a national climate change plan, including measures for quality jobs in a clean energy economy. Yet its pan-Canadian strategy makes only just one vague commitment to strengthen skills development in support of this transition. Only under pressure from workers and environmentalists was an advisory group finally struck this spring, but limited to coal workers. When will this government actually make real investments in a just transition strategy for all Canadian energy workers?
The Honourable Minister of Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We agree. We need to grow our economy. We need to create good jobs with Canadians, and we also need to tackle climate change. That's exactly what we've been doing. Whether it's making historic investments in clean technologies, and I'd like to give a shout out to all the Canadians that are working in clean tech companies, because we've jumped from 7th place in 2014 to 4th place in the world as a clean technology innovator. We also are making sure that we work with workers, we work with unions. We set up a just transition workforce so that we can support workers who are in the coal sector so they can transition. We're going to continue doing what we need to do, which is...
The Honourable Member for Drummond. The NDP is fighting to create good jobs and protect the environment. The Liberal government, though, just wants to make a Texas company richer by using our money to buy an old pipeline for $4.5 billion. According to Équiterre, every dollar invested in renewable energy will create 6 to 8 times as many jobs. It's true, 6 to 8 times more than those invested in the fossil fuel industry. When will the government stop investing in the energy of the past and finally start investing in the energy of the future? The Honourable Minister of the Environment, or rather the of Natural Resources.
Dollars in the Low Carbon Economy Fund, $200 million to support clean technology and natural resource sectors, $220 million to get rural and remote communities off diesel, $20 billion for public transit, and $21.9 billion in green infrastructure to improve energy efficiency and to help Canadians save money.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Mr. Speaker, dairy, egg and chicken producers are on the Hill today, and there have been a lot of photo ops for all parties. But now let's get to work. The Liberals have been repeating the same talking points for 2 weeks, claiming to support supply management. But the problem is that the Prime Minister says one thing when he's in Chicoutimi and another when he's in the U.S. Mr. Speaker, which version of the Prime Minister will dairy farmers meet today? Can he tell us now which concessions have been made to the Americans, and what is his plan for farmers who unfortunately feel betrayed by this hypocrisy? Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Mr. Speaker, despite all the efforts of the Leader of the Opposition to try to hide it, it's clear that the Conservatives do not support dairy farmers and supply management. Our government is united in supporting our dairy farmers, unlike the member for La Beauce, who wants to end supply management and who described dairy farmers as dishonest millionaires. Unlike the Conservatives, our government fully supports Canadian dairy farmers and our supply management system. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Mr. Speaker, instead of playing partisan politics when there are farmers here who are waiting for real answers, nothing's happening. The Canadian government does not subsidize milk, egg, or chicken production, and yet the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture confirmed that the Prime Minister had made concessions on supply management. The Prime Minister received the support of all members in this House in the face of threats from the U.S. President. So can he now be frank with members and with Canadians? Yes or no? Were concessions on supply management offered to the Americans? How much market share was given up, and what is his plan to compensate farmers? The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. It was the Liberal government that created supply management, unlike the party across the way who want to abolish supply management. We will continue to defend it and to defend the interests of Canadian farmers and their families, as well as all of our dairy farmers. The Prime Minister, the Minister of Agriculture, the caucus, everyone supports supply management, Mr. Speaker. We set up the system and we will defend it.
The Honourable Member for Foothills.
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to U.S. demands on Canada's supply management system, when he's in the United States, the Prime Minister says he's flexible. When he's back here in Canada, he says he supports the system. Wow. But we know that an offer was made to the Americans as part of the NAFTA negotiations. So my question is, which version of the Prime Minister is going to be meeting with Canadian dairy farmers this afternoon? Is it going to be the one that is using farmers' livelihoods as a bargaining chip, or is it going to be the Prime Minister that just simply recites Liberal talking points?
Good question. Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate my honourable colleagues' question. Our government proudly supports our dairy farmers and the supply management system. And unfortunately, the Conservative critic, the opposition critic for economic development, has indicated quite clearly that he called for the end of supply management. He called dairy farmers nefarious paper millionaires. If you can't have it both ways, you either support the dairy farmers or you do not. And it's obvious that the Conservative government does not support the supply management.
The Honourable Member for Chilliwack HoC.
Canada's farmers locally produce the highest quality milk, eggs and poultry in the world. Maintaining Canada's system of supply management is critical to the farm families who make up the backbone of my community. These families were worried when the Prime Minister went on American television and said that he was willing to be flexible when negotiating with the United States on supply management. Just how much access to the Canadian market was the Prime Minister prepared to give away in order to get a deal with Donald Trump?
Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, I can assure my honourable colleague that on this side of the House, our government fully understands the importance of supply management. As I indicated quite clearly, we're the party that fought to implement it, and we're the government that's going to support it. But when you have the Minister of Economic Development in the Conservative Party indicating quite the critic for economic development, indicating quite clearly that supply management is nefarious paper millionaires, that dairy farmers are nefarious paper millionaires. Come on, Mr. Speaker, that is inappropriate language, and as a government, we fully support supply management. We need the opposition support.
L'honorable alors.
Order.
Député de Jonquière.
The honourable member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, softwood lumber, aerospace, paper, steel, aluminum, and the list could grow longer. The Trump administration is going after our industries one by one on the pretext that we unfairly tax their farmers. But an intact supply management system is crucial to our farmers, especially those who work every day in the Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean. Could the government confirm once and for all that it will fully protect supply management and not just partially? The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, we've been clear. We will defend supply management. Unlike some members of the official opposition, including the member for Beauce, everyone in this House believes in supply management. Our position on this issue is unequivocal. We have always defended this system, and we do it at each and every opportunity, including in the NAFTA talks.
Windsor West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And it was the last NAFTA talks where this government actually, Liberals, sold out our auto industry, so there's no trust to be gained there. In fact, Mr. Speaker, that's why the industry and workers have been calling for a national auto strategy for over 2 decades, and it's just fallen on deaf ears on the Conservatives and the Liberals. But what is clear about the situation now is that this Prime Minister has dedicated endless time and energy and billions of dollars for an idea nobody wanted, a 65-year-old leaky pipeline. Now, Mr. Speaker, the Trump administration has threatened tariffs on our auto sector and manufacturers. What specifically is this Prime Minister going to do for our auto sector and the workers?
The Honourable Minister of Economic Development.
Mr. Speaker, make no mistake, we're going to back our auto workers 100%. We've always had their back. Since we formed government, there's been a total investment of $5.6 billion in the automotive sector, and that's because we've stepped up in a big way to support the sector, to support the workers. We have a plan. That plan is working, and like I said, Mr. Speaker, we will always defend our auto workers.
Honourable member for Brampton Centre. Brampton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, earlier today this government announced its great vision for a redesigned homeless partnering strategy on the basis of consultation with the advisory committee, experts, community homeless stakeholders from coast to coast to coast. Government committed $2 billion towards this plan to tackle homelessness. Could the minister responsible for the housing tell the House how the redesigned homeless plan strategy will tackle the homelessness in Canada?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to start by thanking the member from Brampton Centre for his support in the fight against homelessness. I would also like to thank and congratulate the member from Spadina, Fort York, and all members of the Homelessness Advisory Committee for their hard work and excellent report. Yesterday, we announced Reaching Home, the next federal plan to invest doubling investments in the fight against homelessness and reducing chronic homelessness by at least 50%. This is another sign, Mr. Speaker, that we are reestablishing federal leadership, federal partnership in providing a safe and affordable home to all Canadians.
Honourable member for Lakeland.
Mr. Speaker, media reports that the Finance Minister's New York-based pipeline sales team is trying to sell the Trans Mountain pipeline to the Canada Pension Plan. Are these reports accurate?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I'm able to say that the Canada Pension Plan Investment Board operates as an independent entity at arm's length from government, and should they decide to be involved in any potential acquisition of any equity, it's not something that we would be involved in as a government.
Order. The time to answer someone is when you have the floor, not when you don't have the floor. The honourable member for Lakeland now has the floor.
Well, Mr. Speaker, Kinder Morgan said the existing pipeline was worth $2.5 billion, but the Prime Minister gave them $4.5 billion tax dollars to walk away. Now the Finance Minister is being reported as paying a U.S. investment firm to lobby the Canada Pension Plan to purchase Trans Mountain with Canadian tax dollars. The Finance Minister has said that pension plans would be a likely buyer for the pipeline, and he appoints the CPP board. So having overpaid for this pipeline, is the minister expecting Canadian pensioners to bail him out and the Liberals out for all their failures?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
We believe that it's important that in our country we have the ability to get our resources to international markets. It's why we move forward on the decision to ensure that the Trans Mountain expansion project gets done. We know this is in Canadians' best interest. It will help our economy. It will create thousands of jobs across our country. And we would certainly hope that the members opposite would see the advantage this creates for workers in Alberta and British Columbia and across the country. Thank you.
The honourable member for Charlebourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the problem at the Lacal border crossing was never the RCMP or the CBSA. Our officers have always done a good job. The problem is the Prime Minister and his misguided priorities. He refuses to tell the House what his plan is to resolve this crisis. All he does is send his minister on trips abroad. There are some things his government needs to negotiate with the U.S. administration, like the Safe Third Country Agreement. When is the minister going to get the negotiations started? The Honourable Minister of Transport. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm glad my colleague recognizes the excellent work of the RCMP and CBSA. And as a matter of fact, I'm very happy that his leader went to Lacal for the first time last week and acknowledged the outstanding work of those organizations who've been working for over a year to ensure that we process asylum seekers' applications. And of course, we're constantly in contact with the U.S., our southern neighbor. The honourable member for Charlebourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, yes, our leader and myself, we visited Lacal, and we saw that illegal arrivals were being treated with being made very comfortable. But the problem is the renegotiation of the Safe Third Country Agreement. Is that happening, yes or no? The Honourable Minister of Transport. Mr. Speaker, we are continuing to discuss this important issue with the United States, and we have undertaken some discussions, but there's nothing official to announce yet. But we're working very closely with them, and of course we're working very closely with Ontario and Quebec. Once these asylum seekers enter the country, they have to be integrated into society.
Today in Toronto, there's an inquest into the death of Grant Faulkner, who died homeless when his shelter caught fire in January 2015. For too many Canadians, a lack of housing is a matter of life or death. Despite yesterday's announcement, the National Housing Strategy does not invest money specifically for homeless Canadians. We need permanent supportive housing, rent geared to income housing, and a national housing benefit to help the most vulnerable. Will the government commit today to a national housing strategy that ensures housing for homeless Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Social Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to congratulate the member for her interest in the fight against homelessness and in ensuring that every Canadian has a safe and affordable home. However, I would invite her to look very closely to the National Housing Strategy and the important announcement we made yesterday, which will have an immense impact on the fight against homelessness in the next 10 years, because we're going to work respectfully and effectively with a large number of stakeholders that have worked very hard with us in the last few months to make sure that not only do we have the first ever national housing strategy, but we're going to invest the most important, most significant resources ever in our history.
The honourable member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagotte. Mr. Speaker, at committee, over 100 organizations underscored the importance of having a concerted poverty reduction strategy. The minister himself said so in a document, what we've heard so far. The minister said it would take a strategy based on obtaining tangible, measurable results. Piecemeal initiatives like yesterday's plan on homelessness isn't going to be good enough. It takes an actual, genuine strategy, not isolated piecemeal strategies. And my question is simple. Where's the strategy? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to begin by thanking my colleague for her interest in this matter. I'd encourage her, however, to look closely at the content of the strategy announced yesterday, and I'd encourage her to look at what stakeholders have said all across Canada, particularly in Quebec. They were delighted not only with the results that we've achieved so far, but also by the incredibly inclusive process we used in recent months. That's why so many Canadians will be able to get out of poverty in the next few years, because we have a solid plan, a cooperative plan, with the involvement of a great number of stakeholders all across the country. The honourable member for Bellechasse. Mr. Speaker, last on the weekend in Toronto, the cleric Shafiq Houda called for the eradication of Israelis. He said he wanted to put Israelis in body bags, and he hoped that one day Israel would be annihilated. These hateful statements are totally unacceptable and illegal in Canada. Why did the government House Leader, the Liberal government House Leader, support and approve funding for this organization? Why hasn't the Prime Minister condemned these statements that are hateful and out of place in Canada and in the world?
As I said, our government is incredibly proud to support the Canada Summer Jobs Program, in fact, double it as compared to the Conservative government. We believe that youth deserve that very important first experience in employment. As I said, all programs that receive approval through the Canada Summer Jobs Program must adhere to the terms and conditions of the program. If this member has concerns, he can speak to my office afterwards.
Honourable Member Order for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, hundreds of worthy Canada Summer Jobs employers were denied funding for thousands of young people this year because they refused to accept the Liberals' imposed values. Now, the Islamic Humanitarian Service of Kitchener ticked the box, and funding was personally approved by the Liberal House Leader. Well, Sheikh Shafiq Houda of this organization now calls for genocide, the eradication of Israelis, and says you will leave in body bags. Mr. Speaker, doesn't the minister believe those words clearly violate the Liberal values attestation?
Honourable Minister of Employment.
Mr. Speaker, as I've said clearly time and time again in this House, all recipients of Canada Summer Jobs funding must adhere to the terms and conditions of the program, and that includes, Mr. Speaker, not undermining the rights of other Canadians and ensuring that young people have jobs that are quality jobs that will help them move forward in their future. If the member is concerned about that organization, then he can bring it to my attention. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Order. The Honourable Member for Carlton Trail, Eagle Creek.
This Prime Minister's rigid ideology is hurting Nova Scotians. Last week, the historic Bangor Sawmill Museum announced that it was closing its doors because it was refused Canada Summer Jobs funding. This is a loss of a tourist attraction and an employment opportunity for young people in that community. And all because this non-religious museum refused to sign the Prime Minister's attestation. Does the Prime Minister not see that his thought policing of Nova Scotians is hurting communities?
Honourable Minister of Employment.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I want to put the member member's mind at rest. You know, in fact, our government's doubled the Canada Summer Jobs Program, and that means over 3,000 jobs to Nova Scotia this year compared to the 1,800 jobs that were improved under the Harper Conservatives. So clearly, young people in Nova Scotia, Mr. Speaker, will have more opportunities than ever to have excellent job experiences this summer.
The honourable member for Etobicoke Centre.
Mr. Speaker, the government has a responsibility to protect the private information of Canadians and the integrity of our critical infrastructure. Budget 2018 committed $155 million towards a new Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity for a unified government source of unique expertise and support. Could the Minister of National Defence update this House on the government's next steps to ensure Canada is able to address the cyber challenges of today and tomorrow?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member from Etobicoke Centre for his unwavering support to Ukraine. Mr. Speaker, strong cybersecurity is critical to Canada's competitiveness, economic stability, and long-term prosperity. Today, along with the Minister of Public Safety, I announced our new national cybersecurity strategy with the creation of the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity as a key element. The new Cyber Centre will provide Canadians and businesses with a trusted source for cybersecurity advice and build on Canada's already world-class cybersecurity expertise. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Durham.
Mr. Speaker, the International Civil Aviation Organization is a UN agency that promotes international cooperation on air travel. Decades ago, ICAO established airport codes for each country. Unfortunately, due to international pressure from China, some companies, including Air Canada, have departed from the use of established ICAO codes and are now identifying Taiwan as China. Will the Liberals respect the integrity of ICAO and make that a pillar of their bid for the UN Security Council seat?
Honourable Minister of Transport.
Mr. Speaker, we're very proud that ICAO is located here in Canada and has been since 1949, and we have been very involved with ICAO in all of the good work that it does to adopt international standards with respect to aviation. We will continue to work with ICAO as we move forward. In fact, we have taken positions of leadership with respect to the question of carbon emissions from international flights, and we will continue to do so.
The honourable member for Timmins, James Bay.
Speaker, on this 10th anniversary of the residential school apology, the Minister for Indigenous Affairs continues to fight the survivors of St. Anne's. She has instructed her officials to target their lawyer, Faye Brunning, the lawyer who exposed how justice officials suppressed evidence and had cases of child rape and torture thrown out of the hearings. Now, here's the thing. I was in the meeting where the minister promised to their faces that she would end those intimidation tactics. She gave her word. So I'm asking her, will she tell this House why she told Angela she would end these tactics, and yet she continues to attack the lawyers and the representatives of
The Honourable Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations.
Mr. Speaker, our government is committed to ensuring justice for the victims of this dark chapter in our history. Canada has not and will not seek costs against individual claimants. But in exceptional circumstances, costs can be sought against lawyers who do not appear to be acting responsibly. As Justice Perel noted in his recent direction, Council's repeated and deliberate attack on the integrity of this court threatens to interfere with the administration of justice. Council will be responsible for any costs awarded, and they will be donated to a fund that supports former students.
Honourable member for Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, according to some estimates, there could be up to 2,200 homeless veterans in Canada. And from talking to vets and their families, we learned there are many factors, from unsuccessful transition to sudden changes in physical and mental health, that could land a veteran on the street homeless. Organizations like the Mission Old Brewery in Montreal, the Respect Campaign, and Vets Canada are working to reduce these numbers in our communities. What's our government doing to help lower the number of homeless vets and prevent others from becoming homeless in the future? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague from Saint Laurent for her support to veterans and their families. Homelessness among veterans is unacceptable. Our veterans who are homeless, one is too many. Last week, I met organizations that work to reduce the numbers of homeless vets, and this will improve our ability to provide veterans services and services to homeless vets and help provide programming for them.
Fort Saskatchewan.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday Hong Kong democracy activist Edward Leung was sentenced to 6 years in prison. This is basic dictatorship in action, in defiance of the one country, two systems framework that China agreed to. This Liberal government claims to care about human rights around the world, so will they clearly condemn the imprisonment of Hong Kong's leading pro-democracy voices and join our allies in calling for Hong Kong's legal status to be respected?
Hear, hear. Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, for our government, the promotion and protection of human rights are core priorities in our engagement with China, very much including Hong Kong, which has such close human connections with our country. We raise the human rights situation in China with Chinese officials at every opportunity, and we will continue to encourage China to live up to its international commitments through frank dialogue. Thank you.
The honourable member for Joliette. Mr. Speaker, the Quebec economy is under attack from all angles by Donald Trump, who's firing on everything that moves. He tried to kill our aeronautics industry, he's threatening our agriculture, he's slapping tariffs on our softwood lumber, our paper, our steel and aluminum, the cleanest in the world. In short, it's all of Quebec that's taking the hit. Try as the Prime Minister might to stand up to Trump, and we will stand behind him when he does, the fact remains our companies and our workers are being left to fend for themselves. What's taking the government so long in announcing a support package for SMEs in the aluminum industry? The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to point out that our government is determined to modernize NAFTA in a way that's beneficial to all parties. When it comes to aluminum and steel, once again, I'd like to underscore the fact that Canada understands that these tariffs are illegal and unjustified. Our government will defend our workers and our industry. The honourable member for Manicouagan. Mr. Speaker, the municipalities of La Romaine and Unaman-Shipu on the lower North Shore are stranded because the federal wharf no longer meets minimum safety standards. After their supply ship, now it's the oil tanker that can no longer dock. In a month, the power plant will no longer be able to provide electricity. Because of federal negligence, these communities' links to the mainland are in jeopardy. Will the minister show a modicum of consideration for local politicians and residents who are fearing for their very survival by agreeing to, at the very least, keep them informed and say when he intends to deploy an emergency plan? The Honourable Minister of Transport. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for her question. The people of La Romaine are our priority, and they remain so, and we are following recent developments very closely. I asked my department to act quickly on this file in cooperation with the communities and the services that serve this community. We understand that work will be done this weekend, but we're working on a lasting solution to fix this problem.
Louvain.
Mr. Speaker, everyone in this House supports the Prime Minister standing up to President Trump. The government has announced retaliatory tariffs targeting selective American electoral districts. Unlike previous American presidents, Trump has made himself vulnerable by not divesting his personal business interests. To apply further pressure, has the government considered retaliatory sanctions targeting the Trump organization rather than the American people?
Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, the tariffs imposed by the United States on steel and aluminum are illegal and unjustified, and the national security pretext is absurd and frankly insulting to Canadians. In putting together our retaliation list, we have been measured and we have created a perfectly reciprocal list. We are now in a consultation period, and we welcome ideas from all Canadians on what should and what should not be in our retaliation list. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
L'honorable député de Laurier-Sainte-Marie se lève avec un appel au règlement.
Member for Laurier-Sainte-Marie on a point of order. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the floor. I'd like to thank my colleagues on both sides, the Conservatives and the Liberals, for their words of sympathy given the sad news we just heard this morning about Paul Dewar. The entire NDP family is floored by this news, and I'm sure everyone is who met him over the years.
An amazing advocate on a range of issues. He's an amazing family person. He's an amazing human being. Paul, our thoughts are with you and your family. Thank you for being you. Thank you.
I will thank the honourable member for Laurier-Sainte-Marie. Obviously, all of us offer our sympathy for Paul and his family. He was a good friend to us all.
It being 3:09 p.m., pursuant to order made on Monday, June 11, 2018, the House will now proceed to the taking of the deferred recorded division on the motion of Mr. Jennis related to the business of supply. Call on the members. The question is as follows. Mr. Jennis, seconded by Mrs.